Oh, I had to let that one play out for just a little extended music here, getting into this podcast. What's up, everybody? Paul Reindl here, episode 55 of the Reindl Report, live from my living room. Once again, thank you for listening, and if you heard that song, The Lights Come On, you might have an idea of why I chose that intro instead of the typical podcast open. If you had any idea what happened towards the end of the San Diego State and Stanford game on Saturday, man, I gotta say that was about as San Diego as it gets, huh? National TV, Pac-12 game. You know, you got everybody, all the Pac-12 network guys, Pac-12 After Dark, everyone waiting for that game to get over, and there's a 20-minute delay at 10:30 at night or whatever it was because the lights went out. Nobody knows why, but the lights went out in stadium. I guess now it's called San Diego County Credit Union Stadium, but it still says stadium out front. Last time I drove by it, which was less than a week ago, they took down the Qualcomm sign, so I'm calling it stadium because that's all it says. But yeah, pretty classic. The lights going out. So the lights did come back on. San Diego State did win. I've got a lot of thoughts on that. There's just so much to get to. This podcast coming in hot on a Thursday. A little delayed on the podcast, usually coming out around Wednesday. This one's coming out on Thursday, so happy Thursday to you, or maybe it's happy Friday to you, or maybe you're getting some weekend listening in. Whatever day it is that you find this podcast, I appreciate you for tuning in. I got a lot to talk about here. I need to start with a little PSA. Want to help you guys out. Want to let you know what is going on with me and what I've been watching, especially, when it comes to Netflix and new television shows. So maybe if you haven't seen what I have been watching, I'm going to sell it for you and then you can go check it out. But this week, I got to tell you, you got to check out on Netflix, the new Netflix special with Jerry Seinfeld. It is outstanding. Now, I suppose you have to be a Jerry Seinfeld fan to find it entertaining. But for me, I grew up watching Seinfeld. I loved that television show. Jerry Seinfeld has some hilarious stand-up comedy specials, and haven't really seen or heard from the guy in a long time. So kind of came out of nowhere when I saw that Netflix was releasing this special. But I highly recommend checking it out. He talks about his coming up as a comedian, and I think it takes place in one of like the original comedy clubs that he started in, just a small little comedy club. And so I would highly recommend checking it out if you like stand-up comedy and if you like Jerry Seinfeld. So that's my PSA. That's my Reindl recommended Netflix watch. I'm Paul Reindl, and I approve this message. But let's get into some sports. I know this, like I said, this podcast coming out on Thursday, September 21st, but I just want to touch up on what an amazing weekend we just got through a few days ago. This last weekend was one of the best sports weekends that I can remember in recent memory. I mean, I can't think of anything better. I had so many different options for things to do on Saturday as far as how I was going to consume my sports. I had a lot of friends going to the San Diego State-Stanford game, and I knew that was going to be a huge game. I didn't know if San Diego State was going to win or not. Matter of fact, I picked them to lose. I said, gun to my head, if you're making me pick who's going to win that game, I didn't pick San Diego State. I would have picked them to cover. I thought it was going to be a close game, but I thought Stanford was going to take care of business, and I'm so happy to be wrong and be proven wrong by that. I have no problem being proven wrong there by the Aztecs, but I had a lot of friends going to that game. I had a lot of people that were watching the big fight, the Triple G and Canelo match, and I was thinking about doing that. I ended up not doing anything. I was at my house. I stayed parked on the couch. I brought out the bedroom TV, so I had dual televisions going in my living room, and I was watching Clemson, Louisville. I had USC and Texas on. I was streaming the fight. I don't want to say illegally because I don't know who's listening to this, but let's just say I was a very important person, and that was how I consumed the Triple G and Canelo fight, which I'm not going to get into it really here because, again, I've said this before when it comes to boxing and mixed martial arts, I'm by far no expert. I summed it up pretty well in 140 characters or less when I tweeted out, look, I know as much about boxing as I know about women, which it's not much. But what the hell? How did that end in a draw? I didn't even know. I'll be honest. I will be completely transparent here. I didn't even know that boxing matches did end in a draw. I mean, what the hell? That's like kissing your sister. That was stupid. But it was a very well fought fight. I could see arguments for either competitor. I had Triple G win in that fight. I thought he was the better fighter between the two. But the problem that I had was this Adelaide Bird chick. How did she come up with a 118 to 110 score in favor of Canelo? I'll go ahead. I'll wait. Because I've looked into it. I've heard people talking about it all week. Nobody seems to have been able to draw a conclusion whatsoever of how she might have been able to reach that conclusion. Nobody knows. So I was I was very disappointed with how it ended. But the real winner of that fight was boxing, because we are going to get a rematch. It seems like it's inevitable. I keep hearing Cinco de Mayo week coming up in May. So really hope that happens, because that was an amazing fight. They called it the fight of the year. Some people even called it the fight of the decade. But when you factor in all the college football games, I mean, that USC-Texas game was incredible. How it came down to the wire and goes into double overtime. Sam Darnold, that jump pass that he made was just insane for the Trojans. San Diego State upsetting Stanford. I do have some thoughts on that in a little bit later. And then you got the NFL on Sunday, which, well, still trying to figure out how I'm going to be, how in tune with the NFL I'm going to be this year. Right now, it does seem like it will be primarily following my fantasy football team. It will be a lot of red zone. It will be watching, I'm going to be watching the Oakland Raiders. I think that's a team they'll be following this year for me. But really, it's going to come down to my fantasy team. I mean, week 1, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Now, okay, that game ended up being a close game. I think Pittsburgh won like 21-18. I think it was a 3-point game. But odds are I'm not watching Pittsburgh-Cleveland on most Sundays. Any previous year, back when San Diego actually had an NFL team many, many years ago, when San Diego had an NFL team, that's who I was watching on Sundays. But now that doesn't happen, I'm watching Pittsburgh and Cleveland because Ben Roethlisberger is my fantasy football quarterback. So definitely still figuring it out. Still got the training wheels on for how I'm going to be consuming my football. As far as the NFL is concerned, I think college football is far and away better than the NFL this year. I think it was better last year. It's more captivating. There's more storylines. It's the better matchups. So I'm all in on college football. I'm getting my toes wet when it comes to the NFL this year. I did watch the Chargers game. I wanted to see what it looked like at StubHub. I won't even know I'm not sure if it was even hate watching, if you would consider it hate watching. I was just kind of watching it. Like it was on. I had a little bit of curiosity. I was a little upset when Antonio Gates got the record-breaking touchdown in Los Angeles. I wish he could have done it on the road in Denver, but once we had 3 straight home games for the Chargers, kind of knew it was probably going to happen there. But all the congratulations in the world to Antonio Gates. I've said this entire time, with him and Rivers on that team, it's going to be really hard not to root for those guys, just for those 2 guys. But for the Chargers to lose again on a field goal the way that they did, that was pretty satisfying. And I've got some thoughts on that as well coming up towards the end of the podcast. I've got 3 main things that I want to get to. I got to talk about the NFL. I will talk about the Chargers and how they continue to be the laughingstock of the NFL. That has been my theme going on for the last few podcasts now. I've got some further thoughts on San Diego State football. But first, and I can't even believe that I'm doing this on a September podcast. It's supposed to be all football, right? And maybe a little bit of baseball playoff races sprinkled in, but it's all football, right? I can't believe that I'm really starting a podcast here with basketball, but that's what there are some insane stories going on right now. The drama continues, and I've got some thoughts on what's going on in the NBA. All right, once again, I cannot believe that in September I'm starting my first segment here with a basketball-related conversation. We still got, a month and a half before preseason and the regular season gets underway, but as I mentioned, the NBA offseason just continues to dominate headlines, and it continues to provide with some pretty amazing drama, and it is much more entertaining than the regular season ever has been for me. I mean, this has been from the draft and all these rumors around LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and Lonzo Ball and Summer League and his crazy dad, and now we got Kevin Durant. I got to start with at KDTrey5 on Twitter. Well, I should say that's one of his Twitter accounts. Kevin Durant. What the hell, man? Like, what the hell? This guy has got some major insecurities, and quite frankly, I think it's borderline concerning. I mean, his skin is paper thin, and I think that is borderline concerning. I mean, God, I bet if I tag him on Twitter on this podcast when I tweet it out, at KDTrey5, he's probably going to listen, and he's probably going to troll me with one of his fake accounts. So if you're not exactly sure what's been going on, Kevin Durant has been in the news this week because he got outed. He got caught. He has apparently been using fake Instagram and fake Twitter accounts to go, troll other people and go back and forth with people on social media and clear his name and, dog the OKC Thunder. And I don't get it. I mean, the tweet that I think was the one that set it off was some guy was like, you can hear Daphne in the background. Daphne, say hi to the podcast. Daphne? No? All right. Anyways, the tweet that I believe set off this whole Kevin Durant getting caught with a fake Twitter account was some guy tweeted at him and goes, hey man, like, I respect you, like, I'm a fan of yours, but give me one legit reason why you left Oklahoma City other than chasing a ring. And Kevin Durant, on his verified Kevin Durant account, said, you don't know anything about KD or something like that. And, Oklahoma City, he couldn't stand with working with Billy Donovan, and it wasn't working out with him and Russ. And he kept referring to Kevin Durant in third person, meaning he clearly thought he was using a fake account. And then somebody caught up on Instagram and saw that there was this account that was going around, and anybody that was talking mess about Kevin Durant, this fake account, which turns out to be a fake account, it looks very real, but this account would just go off on these people and defend Kevin Durant. And then when you click on that Instagram account, it was followed by guys like Rudy Gay and Draymond Green. Like, it was followed by certain NBA players. So that would lead, when you couple that with the Twitter issues that had come out, it was pretty clear that this guy has got some insecurities, and I don't understand why he felt the need to do that. It made no sense to me. It was extremely odd. I mean, you are the second best basketball player in the universe. Some will even say you're the best. Why do you care what these nobodies are saying on Twitter and Instagram? I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't have a problem with athletes interacting with fans or even haters on Instagram and Twitter. I have no problem with that. I find it entertaining. I have been switching over to NBA or NFL really quick, I've been seeing these NFL players, quote tweeting and going back at people that are saying, like, how could you not catch that ball? You ruined my fantasy league. And they're just saying, yeah, well, this is my real life, so shut the F up and stuff like that. Like, I think it's great. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with you taking everything these people are saying, apparently, and taking it so personally. Again, you're the second best player in the world. You are one of the best basketball players on the flat planet Earth, according to Kyrie Irving. Why do you care what anybody else thinks? And then furthermore, why are you concerned about OKC at all to trash them on Twitter? Like, what did they do that was so bad to you? That fan base loved you. That was your, well, you got drafted by Seattle and then you moved to Oklahoma City, but you love Oklahoma. I mean, I couldn't figure out why you would have all that animosity, that you would go, and I guess I can't say publicly because you at least thought you were using a fake account, but at the end of the day, you publicly bashed your old team. And I honestly did not think there was any bad blood between the Thunder and Durant. I mean, quite frankly, if anybody's going to be pissed off at anybody in that situation, it would be the Thunder pissed off at you. You're the one that took the easy way out and left. You're the one that couldn't beat the Warriors, so you joined the Warriors. And I've got a lot of thoughts on that as people keep talking about super teams and, well, LeBron started the super team, and how is Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City to go to Golden State any different from LeBron leaving Cleveland to go to Miami? Well, here's the thing. LeBron didn't follow the if you can't beat him, join him mentality. Kevin Durant did. All right, Kevin Durant knew he was not going to beat Golden State, so he hopped out of Oklahoma City and joined them. That's taking the easy way out. If LeBron were, for LeBron to do the same thing, he would have had to leave Cleveland in, 2010? He would have had to leave Cleveland and go to Boston. Because Boston, the original super team, at least of this era of NBA players, everybody says LeBron was the first, him and D Wade and Chris Bosh, that was the first super team. I'm sorry, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce, that wasn't the first super team. But I digress. the Cavs could not beat Boston. So if LeBron wanted to do what Kevin Durant did, he would have left Cleveland for Boston, not Miami. Who the hell was Miami? They had Dwayne Wade, and that was it. And they went and got Chris Bosh, and we know how that goes. But I go back to Kevin Durant. You took the easy way out, and you won. You're the champ. Congratulations. I thought you were at peace. You wrote this long piece in the Players Tribune about how you reached that decision and how at peace with it you were. But apparently you were not ready for the criticism, because you've got all these social media accounts that are fake that you have to go and defend your name. I don't know. It was really weird. I mean, what did this prove other than the fact that he has really super thin, razor thin skin? I don't know. It's just been a weird offseason for Kevin Durant. And quite frankly, I think the Warriors should be concerned, and apparently they are. Apparently the Warriors are reportedly say they're monitoring his offseason behavior. I mean, if I'm in the front office of Golden State, I'm pretty concerned with this. Why are you so concerned with these random people that you don't know? Why are you still talking about Oklahoma City and still trashing their coach and their players and the team? Why? I mean, can you imagine scoring a girlfriend, just getting a date and with this girl who is so far out of your league? This girl, we'll call her the second best looking girl on the planet. Right? Kevin Durant's the second best player on the planet. So you've got the second hottest girl and the second best girl on earth, right? And you're dating for a year, and it's great. You're on top of the world. You're a winner. Things are going really well for you. But then you find out that she's got fake social media accounts, and she's still not just following her ex-boyfriend, but she's still very actively concerned about things that are being said about her and trashing him and still thinking about him and still talking about him. Wouldn't that concern you? Wouldn't that at least merit a conversation like, hey, what's going on here? Like, I thought we were good. I thought everything was good. Like, why are we still talking about him? What's going on here? I don't know. He apologized. Kevin Durant did apologize. I think he absolutely had to, but it was a very bizarre story. And that was what's making headlines this week in the NBA across sports. But not only was it Kevin Durant, but Kyrie Irving, he came out publicly and he was on First Take this week, and he started talking about his decision to demand a trade and how he is now in Boston. And I got to tell you, man, Kyrie Irving, that dude is different. The dude is different. I mean, I don't know how much of a quote unquote flat earther he is, but the reports are he thinks the earth is flat. I teach their own, but I do think that that's a little bit telling of where somebody might be at mentally with some of their decision making and what have you. But I thought it was a really interesting interview of him being on First Take. First of all, apparently it just randomly happened. I was listening to Mike and Mike the following day after Kyrie was on with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. The following day, Mike and Mike were talking about it, and Greeny goes, we had Stephen A. Smith on, a couple hours before the show, and he had no idea that Kyrie Irving was going to be showing up. He didn't mention it. He didn't know about it. And so Kyrie just shows up on the set, and they were with him for a while, and they got in depth. And I thought Stephen A. and Max Kellerman did a really good job of not letting him sugarcoat anything, not letting him dance around any questions. Stephen A. would say, no. He asked him, do you believe you can win without without LeBron James? He goes, time will tell. He goes, no. Cut the shit, all right? He didn't say that on the air, but he basically says, cut it. No. I asked you specifically, do you believe that you can win without LeBron James? And then he goes, oh, well, I mean, yeah, of course I do. I got to believe in my own abilities and blah, 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 blah. But it had a really weird vibe to it. I mean, he asked him, did you speak to LeBron James at all about demanding this trade? Did you let him know it was going to happen? And he just goes, no. And then a short answer, just no. And then Stephen A. goes, well, why wouldn't you do that? And then Kyrie just goes, why would I have to? And it was, I don't know. It was kind of salty. It seemed like Kyrie's definitely dealing with some soggy diapers. I get it. And I'm a little bit torn on the whole Kyrie Irving situation, because on one hand, I go, Kyrie, did you not like free trips to the NBA Finals? Did you not like playing with the best player on the planet? Some people say he was Robin to LeBron's Batman. I'm not even sure that that's accurate. I mean, it wasn't 1 and 2. It really was 1A and 1B. Kyrie was a huge part of that team. So I'm not going to go ahead and call him Robin, okay? J.R. Smith is Robin. J.R. Smith probably thinks he's like the Penguin or something. he's an oddball. Kevin Love is Robin, okay? Kyrie and LeBron, that was like 1A and 1B. So I'm not buying into that. But if in fact LeBron James is going to go to the Lakers, which all signs are pointing to that is going to happen. I even heard an NBA insider recently this week doing an interview, and he put his credibility on the line because he said there is a 100% certainty that LeBron James will not be re-signing in Cleveland, and there is a 100% certainty that he will be signing in Los Angeles. So apparently it's the worst kept secret ever. And even when I heard that, I found myself as I was driving going, wonder how he's going to do that this time around. I wonder if he's going to do the decision. He's going to go to a Boys and Girls Club. At least at that time, there's a little bit of speculation. There was a little bit of hope that he would stay in Cleveland. Doesn't seem to be any of that going on right now. Cleveland has to be content with, hey, we got our ring. He fulfilled it. I don't think LeBron James's legacy can be tarnished at all in Cleveland. I think if he leaves, he came back, he got done what he wanted to accomplish. And that's that. So if he goes to Los Angeles, I don't think anybody in Cleveland's going to be too upset. I don't think we're going to have too many burnt jerseys. But if in fact that does happen, then the Cavs are going to fall apart. So I part of me understands Kyrie wanting to jump ship now. If he's going to be the guy at age 25 or 26 next year, why not be the guy on a team like Cleveland or Boston and get to live in Boston as opposed to living in Cleveland? I don't know how good Cleveland's going to be if they lose LeBron James. I don't know how. I think Boston was technically, they were the 1 seed. People seem to even forget about that this year, that they were the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs, but they got steamrolled by LeBron and the Cavs because apparently LeBron, they just didn't care about the number 1 seed too much. The regular season did not matter to LeBron James, and rightly so. I understand that as well. So I get it. Part of me gets it, Kyrie. If you're going to be the guy, why not go to the number 1 seeded team? Why not be the guy in Boston as opposed to Cleveland. Like, you think LeBron's leaving. You're probably saying, hey, if LeBron's got no loyalty to Cleveland, why do I need to have any loyalty to Cleveland? So I get that. I just think it was a little shady how it was all done, and how just it seemed like out of nowhere he's got all these problems with LeBron James and can't work it out, and he wants out of Cleveland. And I go back to, did you just not like having a free ride to the NBA Finals every time? Okay. All right. We'll have to wait and see. But again, Kyrie, he's kind of a different dude. So that's all I've got on Kyrie Irving. Two other things that I really wanted to get to. I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to get to one, and I'm going to give credit here. This was not an original thought, but speaking of LeBron James going to Los Angeles, I was listening to Colin Cowherd on the radio earlier this week, and he had an idea that I thought was just so spot on that I wanted to recycle it here on episode 55 of the Reiner Report. So again, I have no problem giving credit where credit is due. This is not an original thought of mine, but I totally am down for this idea. So if in fact LeBron James goes to Los Angeles, are all the top players and all the top storylines in the NBA not in the Western Conference at that point? I mean, look at Paul George. He leaves the Pacers. He goes to Oklahoma City. Now the Pacers are irrelevant in the Eastern Conference. You've got Harden and Chris Paul in Houston. Obviously, you have the defending champions in Golden State. You've got Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs are always going to be a contender. You've got the Lakers and Lonzo Ball and their resurgence over there in Los Angeles. There's a couple other teams that are coming. I mean, Portland's a contender. They're not. I don't know if they're going to be NBA title contenders, but they're a playoff team. They're a playoff team. They're exciting to watch. I think Minnesota's on the right path. All the best players and all the best storylines would be in the Western Conference if LeBron goes to Los Angeles. He's the only thing going in the Eastern Conference. I mean, John Wall, okay. Boston, sure. But pretty much you think of the Eastern Conference, you think right now, you think the Cavs, and you think LeBron James. So if he goes, everything's going to be in the West. And so Colin Cowherd thinks that the NBA would potentially change their playoff team or their playoff system to just the top 16 teams. Instead of the top 8 teams in each conference, they would just seed 1 through 16 because no network, everything comes down to TV deals, and all these multi-billion dollar companies like TBS, TNT, ESPN, Fox, all the companies that get NBA basketball, nobody's going to want to pay for, a top dollar amount to get the Eastern Conference. So by doing that, you just have 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, and it could be 2 Western Conference teams, or it could be an East versus West matchup in the first round of the playoffs. I thought that would be incredibly interesting, and it makes perfect sense. So when I heard that, it just was like a light bulb, like, yeah, that's really smart. Like, that's a really good idea. So credit to Colin Cowherd. But I wanted to get that out. But like I said, a lot going on in basketball. Just crazy. We're in September, and we're still talking about drama in the NBA. Gotta love it. All right, now I got the NBA out of my system. Want to definitely hit on San Diego State and their win over Stanford. They're getting ready to take on Air Force this week. Man, I said it earlier. I will say it again. I did not think that they were going to actually pull it off. I was hoping they would, but I just said, like, as a betting man, if you put a gun to my head and said pick a team, I picked Stanford last time I had a podcast here, and so I am very happy that I was proven wrong. That has to be the best win for the program, certainly that I've ever seen. Now, I guess you could argue that the bowl game, the Las Vegas Bowl win over Houston last year was a bigger deal. Donnell Pumphrey becomes the all-time NCAA leading rusher in that game. It was a statement win for the program, but this was certainly the best home win that I've ever seen for the San Diego State Aztecs. I was not there in person, as I mentioned towards the beginning of this podcast. I had a lot of friends that were there. It looked like it was a ton of fun, and I definitely considered going, but when it came down to it, with that big boxing match and all the other football games going on Saturday evening, I didn't leave the house, and you know what? I didn't lose a second of sleep over it. I was more than content with my decision because Saturday, again, was just so damn entertaining for me. But that makes it back-to-back wins over the Pac-12 teams for San Diego State, and I think that is a huge milestone that this program just has not really seen lately. We have not had that, okay? This is a team that, they've won double-digit games the last several years in a row. They've been to, 6 or 7 straight bowl games. The program is doing well, but they reached a new height by finally getting over the hump of beating these Pac-12 teams. That is something that just has not been done. I mean, they're at 0 for 29 or 0 for 30 or something like that prior to beating Arizona State in as far as road games versus Power 5 schools. It was the Power 5 schools or just Pac-12 schools. I don't remember off the tip of my head, but 0 for 30. And they cracked that. They ended that streak by beating Arizona State in Tempe 2 weeks ago, and then they come back home and they take care of Stanford, even with the lights going out in the fourth quarter, which... Again, how San Diego was that. But I gotta be negative here. I guess it's just in my nature. And I gotta pick a few bones with the San Diego State football team. And look, I've got a little bit of an issue with Rocky Long being the PR guy for the football team. When he came out last week, he had a press conference and he said that Stanford, he kind of went like Donald Trump on us, honestly. Like, he was blaming the media. He goes, well, I don't think this game's that big of a deal, but the media, you all say it's the biggest game in the program, and then next week will be the biggest game in the program's history, and then the game after that will be the media is going to hype it up. Well, he said, he ended up saying verbatim, that the game next week was going to be a hell of a lot more important than the game this week. And when he said that, he was saying that the Air Force game that's coming up on Saturday this week, he said that the Air Force game was a hell of a lot more important to the team than Stanford because their only goal is to win the Mountain West Championship, and that's a Mountain West game. So I get it. I do understand where he's coming from. But as the theme has been over the last couple of episodes, if you've been following along on the Reindl Report, you can't BS a BSer. Come on, Rock. What are you doing? Stanford was a big game. Now, if he was just trying to go out there and keep his kids, keep their heads level and try not to let them hype the game up too much and make the game bigger than it was, I can understand that. I just have a bit of a problem with Rocky Long saying things like that and kind of being like the PR guy for the football team. His job is to keep coaching like he's coaching. He's doing a fantastic job. I think he was underselling this team at the beginning of the year. In the preseason, he was saying, well, we're gonna be better in the second half of the year than we will in the beginning because we got a lot of new players, a lot of young guys. Our offensive line is so young. Hey man, they're 3-0 and they're rolling. That offensive line looks pretty damn good. They're blocking for the NCAA leading rusher right now in Rashad Penny. So that game was a big deal, Rocky. You heard what I just said. They were 0 for 30 prior to beating Arizona State. Like, they had one win in their last 30 attempts or whatever at these Power 5 schools. And so you get a ranked Stanford, a Pac-12 team coming into your house. That is a big deal. And it was a bigger deal than Air Force. I understand that your goal is to win a Mountain West Conference championship, but why can't the goal be higher than that? Why can't we be thinking a little bit beyond the Mountain West Championship Bowl or championship game? And then if we get the Las Vegas Bowl, great. Or if we get the Idaho Potato Bowl or the, GoDaddy.com Bowl, like the Poinsettia Bowl. Why are we not able to set our sights just a little bit beyond that? Here, look at it like this. Let me ask you this. Do you think Alabama cares about SEC titles? Probably not. Do you think Clemson, at the beginning of the year, their goal was to get to the ACC championship game? No. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've got bigger goals on their minds. And they know that their conference championship games will probably come as a result of getting into the college football playoffs, getting to a national championship game. Why can't San Diego State have similar aspirations? Why do we have to just settle for our only goal being the Mountain West Championship game? All right, there's a great team here in San Diego State. Hashtag one city, one hashtag, or one city, one team, right? For San Diego State. Let's roll with it. All right, let's get Rashad Penny to New York. Let's get him some Heisman love. Let's get him at the Heisman ceremony. Which, while I'm at it, why the hell is he ranked 6th in the Heisman voting? Let me ask you that. Why is the leading rusher in the country 6th in the Heisman voting when you got a running back out of Penn State who has less total yards than him? He has one more touchdown. I guess if that's all that matters, then there you go. And Sam Darnold, who, quarterback at USC, he's thrown for just over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in a couple of games where he's just skated by. Like, they just barely got by. I mean, they double overtime to an unranked Texas team at home, okay? So I'm not sure why Rashad Penny's not in the top 5, at least at this point, in the Heisman voting. Well, I do know. It's because the program, we're not a blue blood program. All right, there's not a lot of national recognition with the San Diego State Aztecs, and that's kind of the problem. You got a quarterback at USC who is statistically not as qualified as Rashad Penny, but because he's the quarterback at USC, he's automatically going to be thrown into the conversation. You want to compare running backs, the number 2 guy on the Heisman watch was the running back out of Penn State. Not as good as Rashad Penny. Doesn't have as many total yards, all-purpose yards as Rashad Penny, but he goes to Penn State, and that's a blue blood college football program, so he gets the edge. He gets the recognition. Now, why can't San Diego State, why can't we just set our sights a little bit higher so that we can be on a similar pedestal there? All right, will San Diego State football ever be on the exact same level as, the Clemsons, the Michigans, the Alabamas? Probably not. But there's no reason why we can't set our sights just a little bit higher than that. All right, let's get Rashad Penny to New York for the Heisman ceremony. Let's get to a New Year's 6 bowl game. All right, the latest projections for all the bowls have San Diego State in the Fiesta Bowl playing Washington. That is a New Year's 6 bowl game, and that would be huge for this program. That would put them more on the map than they are now, and more on the map than they've ever been. All right, this is a team that last year has the all-time NCAA leading rusher. They're the first team ever to have a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard rusher on the same team. All right, the talent is there. The talent is there. So let's ride with that talent, and let's set our sights higher than just settling for the Mountain West Conference Championship and then whatever happens after that. Let's say, damn it, we're going to have a Heisman candidate. We're going to play on a New Year's 6 bowl game. If you play in the Fiesta Bowl, the Mountain West Championship game will be part of the ride. I promise you that. You're not getting the New Year's 6 bowl without getting through the Mountain West Championship game. So let's just set our sights a little bit higher. But hey, we got Air Force coming up, and that's the most important game in history, apparently. No, I mean, look, I get it. I don't want to come down or make it sound like I'm coming down too harsh on Rocky. I think he has done a fantastic job with this team so far this season, and I get it because he to a certain extent, he's right. It's the first conference game, and it is very important because you want to roll with this, all right? You're going to have a target on your back that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Every game that you win, the next opponent, that's going to be their number one goal is to knock you off, okay? You're going to have the biggest target on your back in the conference. All right? San Jose State, it's going to be their Super Bowl. It's going to be the biggest game of the year for them, all right? Colorado State cannot wait to play San Diego State. That's a huge game for them. So everyone's going to be coming at you. You're going to be getting everyone's best shot. So you don't have any room to slip up right now. If we do want to set our sights a little bit higher, we can't slip up. And that's been kind of the Achilles heel for this Aztecs teams of the last couple of years. They get ranked and then they lose the very next game. I mean, I really hope and I do believe that Rocky Long has this team a little bit grounded. He's not letting them get too big of a heads. I think he will have them prepared for, any team, let alone Air Force, and going on the road to Colorado Springs and that stupid option that they run. All right, no, it's not stupid. All right, it's good. It's good. They gave Michigan. I mean, they kept it close against Michigan in the Big House. So Air Force it's not just a wash. This is a big game. But I don't know. Just to say that a Mountain West Conference game is just automatically a bigger game than Stanford, that's false. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. You can't tell me New Mexico is a bigger game than Stanford, a ranked Pac-12 team at home. That's a bigger game. That's going to put you more on the map than getting by the Lobos or getting by the Running Rebels as far as the national perception of your program is. All right? That's all I'm saying. Let's set our sights a little bit higher. Let's not just settle for winning the Mountain West. That's great. We should want to win the Mountain West, but we should want just a little bit more than that. Okay, getting ready to start wrapping things up here, but before I do, I have to start talking about the NFL, and I do have to get to the Chargers. Like I've been saying now for a long time, they're the laughingstock of the NFL. They really are. And now everyone's starting to really take notice of what's going on with the Chargers. I mean, I had the game on. I wasn't watching it, the Dolphins game. I was not watching it intently. I was not taking notes like I have in years past. But it was on. I mean, I had the game on. It was one of a couple of games going, but I was paying attention. I wanted to see what the optics look like. I wanted to see if they would sell out the StubHub Center. Spoiler alert, they didn't. I wanted to see how many Dolphins fans are going to be there. I wanted to see if Gates would get the record. Spoiler alert, he did. So curiosity got the best of me on Sunday, and I was watching the game. But man, people around the league now are really starting to take notice of what's going on with this Chargers team and just how poorly they are ran and how poor of a decision it was for them to move to Los Angeles. And supposedly people are starting to think twice about that. I mean, my God, this team, they could not sell out a 27,000 seat soccer stadium. They had 25,000 sold, apparently. Tickets sold. I don't know how many actually went through the turnstiles, but the number that I kept seeing, everybody kept reporting, was 25,000. Okay, which is essentially a sellout. I mean, what's 25 divided by 27? It's like 90-something%, right? Like 91, 92% probably. So it was mostly full. But I just kept hearing from people, oh, well, it's preseason, of course they're not going to sell out. Well, apparently they're not going to sell it in the regular season either. Okay? I mean, the fact that an NFL team could not sell out a stadium, a 27,000 seat stadium in Los Angeles, the number 2 media market in the world, that is a joke. That is so telling of your likability in this new city, okay? And the demand for your team. There is no demand. All right, I got to imagine most of those people were, well, about half of them are apparently Dolphins fans. All the reports coming out of that game were it was about 50-50 Dolphins fans versus Chargers fans. And I got to imagine a lot of the Chargers fans were just, we'll check it out. We'll see what's going on. And to be fair, of course, there were going to be the passionate Chargers fans, whether they were from Los Angeles or if they drove up from San Diego and they decided, hey, I'm sticking with the team. And again, I'm not going to get down that road too much here, but to each their own. If that's your choice, that is your right. Then if you're saying, hey, I'm loyal to the team, not so much the San Diego Chargers, I'm just loyal to the Chargers and I'm going to follow them, great. Do what you got to do. I'm not doing that. And most people that I know aren't doing that, but do what you got to do. So half of the 25,000 people that were at the StubHub Stadium, StubHub Field, whatever it's called, were Miami fans. And visually, at least, you had to look a little bit closely. I mean, Miami and the Chargers, the color schemes are similar. They're not the same, but they are similar. I think that Miami, that aqua kind of color that they have, I can see it blending in with all the other blue and white that's going on around that stadium with the Chargers fans. So you weren't able to tell, but damn it, you're going to notice this week. Kansas City is rolling into Los Angeles, and there are going to be a lot of Chiefs fans. Chiefs fans always travel well, and they especially were traveling well to San Diego when they had AFC West games here at blank stadium. It's not Qualcomm anymore. I can't call it Qualcomm. It's not Qualcomm, guys. Gotta call it Stadium. But the Chiefs fans, they always travel well. So I got to imagine that they are going to pack that place out. And it is going to be bad. I mean, players, not just people that were covering the game that I follow on Twitter, but actually, even the players on the field, they said that the loudest point of the game was when Younghoe Koo missed the field goal wide right and the Chargers lost. That was the loudest it got in the stadium of the entire game, was the Dolphins fans cheering that they won. You gotta be kidding me, guys. Come on. And now the reports are that executives in the NFL are, quote, shocked about how poorly this move is going and how poor this transition has been. And when I saw that, I just go, are you kidding me? like, did the NFL not do any homework here? You ask any football fan in Southern California last year how this move would turn out, if in fact the Chargers did move to Los Angeles, how would it play out? They would have told you. They definitely would have told you exactly how it was going to lay out. They don't have a fan base up there. They don't have any. They're not wanted up there. I mean, my God, Bill Plaschke from the LA Times has just shredded the Chargers. You remember back in January when the team announced that they were going to be moving, he had the front page in the sports section, a long column saying where he was begging the Chargers not to come to Los Angeles. He said, LA doesn't need you and LA does not want you. Please, Dean, don't do it. Don't come up here. And I'm a big fan of Bill Plaschke, not just because he ripped the Chargers a lot over the last 8 or 9 months or whatever it's been. I've always been a fan of Bill Plaschke. I think that as far as columnists go, I think he's right up there at the top. And I don't know, with the exception of Sir Ice Cube, I can't think of anyone in Los Angeles that's got a better grip on the pulse of sports in Los Angeles than Bill Plaschke. I think Magic Johnson's probably got a pretty good grip on the pulse as well, but Plaschke knows what he's talking about, all right? And if the lead sports columnist at the LA Times is writing things like, please don't do it. Do not come here. We don't want you. You're not wanted here. There's no desire for you here. And then the mayor comes out, the mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, comes out on the Dan Patrick Show last week and says, yeah, we're glad they're here, but we probably would have been fine with just one. We would have been okay with just the Rams. I mean, it's like, my God, the Chargers, they're like it's like you invite your relative to town, you invite your cousin over and say, hey, can I crash at your house for a couple days? Yeah, man, you can stay for the weekend. And then he just says, hey, I'm moving in. Okay. I mean, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it, but I would have been fine with just you staying for a couple days. It is not working out. And look, I don't even like talking about the idea of, will Dean Spanos admit that this is a mistake and will he bring the team back to San Diego? Because I just think that there is, I guess never say never the way things are going in the world today, but I'll call it a 0.1% chance that happens. I just don't even want to give it much merit because I just don't think it's going to happen. But the fact that that's even a conversation right now, the fact that people are even wondering, would he ever move the team back here? Would they just say, you know what, we tried, it didn't work, and then we figured it out in San Diego? The fact that that's even a conversation, that the fact that that's even an idea is so telling of how poorly this transition is going. And it's just, for me, quite frankly, it's entertaining. I mean, if you want to be a part of the Charger hater club, you gotta be pretty entertained by all this. I mean, it just seems like every single week something new is going on with this team, and it's just they didn't know what they got themselves into, and it's not going to get any easier for them. It's going to be a long road for them to ever become relevant in Los Angeles, and it's going to start with winning. I think if the team wins, whether the Rams or the Chargers, if they go 11-5, 12-4, even 10-6, people in Los Angeles take notice, but they're never going to be as popular as the Oakland Raiders. Well, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will always be the top team in Los Angeles, and then they're going to be closely followed by USC. All right, college football will be more important than the Los Angeles Chargers or the Los Angeles Rams. That's just the way it is. So I got to say, I mean, if I were the Chargers, I was shocked that they didn't just completely rebrand. I mean, I'd be curious to know if the Spanos family, if they get annoyed every time the refs and the broadcasters and people on SportsCenter, when they always refer to them still as the San Diego Chargers. First charge timeout, San Diego. Like, what? Come on. You got to be kidding me. But, you know, in defense of the refs, they're wearing the same uniforms. They're wearing the same exact logos. It's the same team. They did not rebrand, and I think if they want to have any shot at succeeding in Los Angeles, they should have rebranded. They still should rebrand. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I thought for sure, I had 99% certainty that they were going to transition to the powder blues full time. It's like the coolest jersey in all of sports. Why would you not utilize that as, you know, promoting your image and making yourself a little more well known in the city that you just moved to? But that's the Spanos family. The Chargers do not know what they're doing. It's PR disaster after PR disaster, and it's getting ridiculous. And apparently the NFL executives, they're starting to take notice. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's all I got for this episode. I'm getting wiped, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you sticking with me if you've made it to this point in the podcast. Not going to do any fun stuff like what did I see on Twitter recently or anything like that. I will just end it with the same plug that I make on the end of every podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at PaulReindlSD. You can go to the ReindlReport.com. That's where this podcast and every other podcast that I have and interviews and all that stuff, all of that is up on www.thereindlreport.com. And of course, you can also go on iTunes and subscribe there. If you have an iPhone, it's really easy. You just find the podcast app. It's the little purple icon with the microphone, and you click that, type in the Reindl Report in the search engine in the search bar, and you hit subscribe. And what that does is as soon as I submit a podcast, as soon as I press send or post online, within about 30-45 minutes, you will get that sent right to your phone. It'll be downloaded, and you get a little notification even that says, hey, yo, what are you doing? Paul just put out a podcast. Go listen to the Reindl Report. So please subscribe there, and always looking for feedback, okay? Whether it's a comment on iTunes or a comment on the website, or if you just shoot me something on Twitter. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. Let me know what you want more of. Let me know what you want less of. But that's all I've got for now. Again, I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to college football than the NFL moving forward. That's just the way it is. I'll be curious to see how any of those NBA storylines play out that we talked about earlier in the podcast. We'll definitely have some thoughts on San Diego State now that they get into Mountain West Conference play. Hopefully they get a big win over Air Force this week. Again, thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you next time.